Y'all want change? Y'all are getting change. We are blowing it all up. A mock off-season plan through the whole off-season, all the way through round 3 of the draft. That gets you everything is different. We're changing at quarterback. We're getting rid of all the big contracts, all of it. So get hype here on the Locked On Vikings podcast. Ooh-wee!
You are Locked On Vikings, your daily Minnesota Vikings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Locked On Vikings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, I'm your host, your pal, and the kid you copied off in math class. My name is Luke Braun. You can find me on Twitter at Luke Braun NFL. You can find the show on Twitter at Locked On Vikings. Thank you so much for making Locked On Vikings your first listen of the day. And today on the show, we are doing another mock offseason. This is going to be a lot like our Monday episode, which is where I kind of did the continuity plan, where I said, okay, we're going to keep Kirk Cousins. We're going to fix the cap without cutting anybody, show you it can be done. This is the catharsis, the cathartic evil twin of that, where I'm going to do a mock offseason where I get rid of everybody. And I'm requiring myself to. So not even a decision. We're trading everybody. Every contract over $10 million must go. I am going to do that and then see if I can't build a team anyways. It'll be a fun little challenge, and I'm going to take you along on the road with me. So here are the rules. First, I must trade or cut every cap hit that is over $10 million in 2022. I can cut more if I want, and I do. I am aiming to be competitive by 2023. And I am not allowed to have any dead money in 2023, which in effect means no June 1st cuts. So to like save more cap this year, no dead money in 2023. We're paying off all the debts. We're getting rid of everybody. Note among those rules, being competitive in 2022, not relevant. I'm going to do as best I can. I mean, I'm not going to make it a tank year because that's too easy and boring. And also not even that good. Like I need to use the 2022 offseason to acquire good players. I can't get them all in one offseason. So I need to use this first offseason to get good enough players. And then whatever that team's record is fine. If I accidentally got too many good players and win 7 games, I have no problem with that. So to start, we have to answer a question that I get on like every mailbag, which is, what do all these players go for? What are they, like every mailbag, people are like, go through all the veterans and tell me what their trade values are. And it's like, well, that's like a whole episode. So let's do that. But if you've been wondering about that, or if you've asked it on a mailbag and I haven't answered, it's kind of because I knew I was going to do it here. So first off, we talked yesterday in depth about what a Kirk Cousins trade would get. The Carson Wentz trade that happened, by the way, on Wednesday also is interesting here, because yesterday I said a second round pick was about going to be it. Unless you want to take money, then you can turn it into a first round pick. But if you think about it, like how many draft picks is 35 million worth? And then take a second round pick plus whatever you think that number is. And that's what I think Kirk Cousins is actually worth as a draft asset. But that contract is, it's just different kinds of currency. Call it a second rounder and 35 million or a first rounder and 25 million. Call it whatever you want. There's a currency exchange, I guess, to it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to eat 10 million so I can make it a first. And I do think that would happen. If you ate 10 million, and the way I would do that is by converting 10 million of Kirk Cousins' 2022 salary into signing bonus. It doesn't change his cap hit at all. It just means that money now no longer travels with him to the new team. And I can tell the new team that I will do that. In exchange, they're going to give me a higher draft pick. The team I'm deciding is going to trade for Kirk Cousins. Obviously, it could be Carolina. It could be Indianapolis. It could be Houston, I think, is a dark horse. I'm going with Pittsburgh, mostly to troll Christopher Carter at Locked On Steelers. So I hope he sees this. But also because I think, look, Pittsburgh is a team that is like not interested in rebuilding. They're very much like a stability kind of organization that wants to continuously be contending and always be building a roster. And I think that they would be more open to Kirk Cousins in that sense. There hasn't been a lot of rumor when it comes to them. We've heard rumors about Indy or the Panthers or whatever. But Seattle's another one now that they traded Russell Wilson away. But I'm going with Pittsburgh. And so they're giving us first pick, number 20 overall, we're taking $10 million off the top. So they're getting Kirk Cousins for $25 million. We are getting a first round pick, and we eat $10 million of cap in 2022. But look, 2022 is a dead year. We don't care about it. So fine by me. Other trades. We have a lot to get through in terms of the trades. I'm trading Danielle Hunter away. Now, Danielle Hunter is on a very favorable contract. I've explained that before, that Danielle Hunter's contract, even though the number is really scary on the websites right now, it's one easy restructure from being like a total fleece. So I think you can get a lot. I went to the Frank Clark trade, and I think Howie Roseman would be the kind of GM to do that, where they think, oh no, we got Jalen Hurts. We need a better pass rush. We're going to do it. Like, he's always been the kind of splashy GM to go do that. So I think that they would do that. And I think we get a first for Danielle Hunter. He's worth a little more than Frank Clark was at the time. He comes with a big contract and stuff, but like, he's Danielle Hunter. And then there's the injury thing. He's only played like 7 games in the last 2 years. So there's a little bit of unknown there, and that's going to make teams nervous. So I would have done a first and a third, but I decided to take the third away in exchange for he's on a contract already, like on a veteran contract already, and you're probably going to have to do work with that. And also the injury thing, I decided to take the third out as like a tax for that kind of stuff. And also the tax of when you're going to trade everybody away, all the teams know you're going to trade everybody away. So they're not going to feel like you can walk away from the negotiation, and that's going to hurt your negotiating leverage, which is going to hurt your compensation. So first round pick for Danielle Hunter, easy enough. And I'm getting Philadelphia's 15th overall pick. So we got 3 first overall picks now, including the one we start with. So good stuff. Eric Kendricks, there's not really a good allegory for this. Like a star inside linebacker doesn't get traded ever. So I didn't have like a very good, like I looked through every linebacker trade and I couldn't find a good one that matched. He's on a big contract. I don't think he goes for a lot. Like in terms of actual draft compensation, again, because there's a contract and it's a veteran thing. And I can't stop thinking about the Calais Campbells of the world, like undeniably good players but because they're on a big contract, the draft compensation isn't that good. And because of the extra currency and stuff. So, the Kendricks contract also isn't as favorable for the team trading for him as like the Thielen one is. So I said like a third. And then I said, maybe you could get a 2022 second, and I'm interested in, or a 2023 second round pick, and I'm interested in that. So I said we traded him to, we'll go Tennessee. That Mike Vrabel, I think, is running a defense that could use a guy like him, and they're going to give us a 2022 second round pick for that. I'm trading away Dalvin Cook. Running back value is dead. So I said, look, the most I could see that getting is like a 4th round pick. It's about as high as it goes. And then, of course, you get rid of all the money. Harrison Smith can go to a win now team like Dallas, I think would maybe do that. And I'm going to do a 2022 second again. Safety value is very weird, but they can go for a lot. Look at like Jamal Adams. But he's old and he's expensive, and that's going to hurt it. But I do think a 2023 second for next year, a deferred second round pick. So we have 2 extra second round picks in 2023. Keep that in mind. Michael Pierce is a nose tackle on a big contract, does never go for a lot. So I said 6th round pick. Adam Thielen, I'm thinking of like a lot of wide receivers go for a second round pick. Like Mo Sanu went for a second. Inexplicably, DeAndre Hopkins did. I'm thinking of like the Antonio Brown trade though, where he was on a big contract, had a lot of money, still very clearly had some stuff in the tank, but he wasn't going to be who he was. And there was, of course, another factor. I mean, there was a lot of stuff about his drama with Pittsburgh. When he originally got traded to the Raiders, there was drama with him in Pittsburgh and stuff. And the Raiders, I think, paid less to be taking less of to like mitigate that risk, to offset that risk. So I'm going to kind of say, well, then he's got like a health risk, which is a different kind of risk, but that's the way we are with Thielen, who's had a little bit of trouble staying healthy the last few years. So I said a 3rd round pick is probably fair for Thielen if they take all that contract away. So I traded him to Vegas for that. And then that's it for the necessary trades. I also traded away Garrett Bradbury. Cutting him doesn't do anything, but I can trade him away to the highest bidder. I don't think you get like anything back for Garrett Bradbury unless somebody's like really, really into him. He's so scheme specific and he's struggled with pass protection and stuff. So I said like conditional 7th to whoever it'll take it. And we'll take that from the Rams. I also cut Armin Watts, who has a $2.5 million cap hit, and you can save all of it. And the other roster cleanup thing that I did was extend Irv Smith. That is something that needs to happen this offseason, and he's a very good player. and he's not a $10 million cap hit, so my rules don't say that I need to get rid of him. So I extended him. I did 4 years, $48 million. That's going to put him not in the like highest ever tight end kind of deal, but I think it'll put him in a fair range. I felt like $12 million a year was a fair range compared to what other tight ends make right now. And then of course that'll age really well, so I sort of scaled it. So 448 for Irv Smith, and then that means we are at a place where I think I'm up to like almost 70 million, 69 million in cap space for the 2022 season. I've got a whole bunch of extra draft picks, 3 first-round picks. I've got 3 seconds next year. So we got a lot of stuff. But we got to turn all that into actually good players, and I want to try to maximize those assets. I don't just want to spend them willy-nilly on everything. And I'm going to get to that. But speaking of willy-nilly spending, let's talk about Grambling. It is Selection Sunday coming up on Sunday. And that means tourneys are coming up, the March Madness and all that stuff. So go on over to betonline.net and get yourself a Grambling on that. You can bet on hockey as well, pro basketball, tennis, golf, whatever you want. You can even play your favorite Vegas casino games. So head on over to betonline.net. You can use their player prop builder and construct all sorts of strange parlays. You can also bet live in the middle of games. If you feel like this team or that team is going to make a comeback or whatever, you can do that. So head on over to betonline.net. Get yourself a Grambling. BetOnline, where the game starts. Hey, make sure you check out the Locked On NFL podcast on YouTube. Locked On NFL, different hosts, still local experts and stuff, but all the big national stories, and it's on YouTube. Go check it out. We just destroyed the Minnesota Vikings. We absolutely obliterated them. There is nothing left on this roster, and that's exactly what we wanted to do. So now comes the challenge. Can we rebuild it, and can we do so in a world where we don't have to wait like 3 years to be competitive or 4 years to be competitive? So the biggest question is, what do you do at quarterback? And this is the question. This is the burning question. Hey, everybody wants to trade Kirk Cousins. What are you doing at quarterback? Here's my answer. I want to target a 2023 quarterback. I want to target one in the draft in 2023, and I will spare no expense to get him. Whether that's Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. I think I said Bryce Young is like the default. We're going to go with him. I could change my mind next year and say that that's CJ Stroud. That's totally fine. But the point is, I want a top 2 pick. And I'm not going to tank to get it. I'm willing to trade up. And that means I want to construct the roster in such a way where I feel comfortable withstanding the blow of not having a first round pick for a couple of years. And maybe even use those extra second round picks that I acquired as well. 2 2s, 2 1 to get up to a top 2 pick or something like that. It's something, the specifics of which we'd have to hash out next year. But I want to prepare the team to be able to withstand that blow. I'm going to spend a lot of draft capital getting that quarterback. And so I kind of need to fix everything else now using kind of only money and draft picks this year. So that's kind of the goal. In the meantime, I do want to bridge quarterback. I'm not just going to have Kellen Mond go out there and win 2 games. That would be embarrassing, and I don't want to be embarrassing. So the first thing I went out and did is I signed Tyrod Taylor. He's my favorite bridge quarterback option. He's definitely not the only one that I like, but he's the one I like the most. And I love what he did in Houston a little bit. I love what he did for the Chargers when he started for them for a hot second, for the Browns when he started for them. I think he's a pretty underrated quarterback. I actually think he's a starting quality quarterback, not a top half quarterback, but starting quality. And he's costs $5 million for 1 year, according to, I'm doing the same thing I did last time where I used the contract estimations Brad Spielberger did for Pro Football Focus, and kind of saying that's the price that they would cost if I went out and got them. And I'm just like assuming I won the bidding war, which is probably the most unrealistic part of this. But look, this is an exercise mostly for fun, so let me live. So the next thing I did, I got to replace Dalvin Cook. So I got Raheem Mostert for 1 year, a little under $2 million. I'm probably just going to do that kind of thing at the running back position for a while until I can find one that I really like in the draft or something like that and really get that like true franchise bell cow type guy. But I'm not too worried about it. I cut CJ Ham for cap space as well. I'm not going to replace him. Kevin O'Connell's scheme doesn't necessarily need a fullback. Sounds like they're going to use a fullback because they have a good one. But if they didn't have a good one, I don't think they would go out of their way to get one, and they might not even roster one. And I'm not going to in this particular sim. So for offensive line, I did the same thing I did in the Monday thing. I went out and got Austin Blyth, 1 year, $1.15 million. Of course, I don't care about this 1 year. This is just kind of a paper me over thing because I traded Bradbury away and I don't have anybody. So I'm just papering over this year, and we'll talk about who else I'm going to get there in a second. And then at right guard, I also went and made a splash, and I got Laken Tomlinson. I didn't want to do the Brandon Scherf thing. To be honest with you, I would rather get Laken Tomlinson, who would be a 3-year, $31.5 million contract, than Brandon Scherf, who is 3 years, $50 million. Brandon Scherf's a much better player, but I don't think he's that much better of a player. And Laken Tomlinson is kind of sneaky good. Like, he's still a player I can get very, very much excited about. So I'm taking him. He was in San Francisco, and he's really come along since his days in Detroit. I'd be very excited about that. And I think that's a really, really good deal. Very efficient use of resources. So those are my offensive free agents. I still desperately need a wide receiver to replace Adam Thielen. I'm not that comfortable just letting KJ Osborne take that. So I still need that, and I still need a more long-term answer at center. We'll get to that. But let me talk about BJ Hill. He's the nose tackle for the Bengals. Love this dude at nose tackle. We got rid of Pierce. We didn't have to get rid of Dalvin Tomlinson. His cap hit was not over $10 million. So I actually kept Dalvin Tomlinson. So now we have BJ Hill and Dalvin Tomlinson to have a nice beefy middle. He went for 3 years, $26 million total. It's not too bad. And I'm actually going to do something that I think actually might be in the cards for the Vikings in real life, which is Zadaria Smith, if they can figure out the cap for it in this situation. Of course, Zadaria Smith, I'm going to sign him to a 3-year deal. He's a little bit older for that, but he's got a lot of ability. I think he can play into his low 30s easy. Coming up with a fair contract for him is very difficult. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. This is not my forte. This is not the thing that I am like best at. Is coming up with like, what would this player get in a market contract? It is not my forte. So here's what I did. He has a $14 million base salary right now. I think he costs like $26 million to the Packers, but he's got a $14 million base salary. So I figured that's about what he's going to want to make per year. Now he's being cut as a cap casualty, probably in Green Bay. That's what all the reports say. So as a cap casualty, your base salary, your amount is going to fall a little bit. So I said $12 million a year was probably fair. And you know what? I'll ump that ante, and I'm just going to go for an even 4 years, $50 million. And I actually front loaded this a little bit because I can. Because we have so much cap space, I front loaded it a little bit and gave him a big signing bonus and stuff, so he'll still feel like it. By the time he's not making as much money as you think he might be worth, he's going to be like 31 or 32, and I'm going to be kind of at peace with it if I do have to cut him as an age casualty. In terms of the secondary, I got very aggressive. I did not pick up any free agent linebackers. That's a problem we're going to have to deal with in the draft and also next offseason. That's okay. But I got really aggressive in the secondary. I went out and I just did it. I got Stefan Gilmore. 2 years, $25 million. That's what the amount that he's supposed to cost is. Easy money. We're doing that. He's a good man corner. We need man-to-man type corners, so that's definitely good. I also went out and got Kaijuan Williams to play the slot. He played that in San Francisco. Decent enough slot corner, and I think slot corners get pretty samey to me when they aren't in cover 7 schemes where it's sort of a different position. But when you're just like a guy that covers slot receivers, then it all gets kind of samey to me. So Kaijuan Williams seems like as good a guy as any. And then I also got Jordan Whitehead, 3 years, $24 million. That is a name I'm actually pretty interested in for the Vikings too. He's scheme versatile and he's very good. He's more of a downhill player, but that's okay in a Fangio scheme. You know, you don't have necessarily the free safety everyman type. He would have to do downfield coverage assignments a lot, and that might not be the best thing for him. But he would also pair with Cam Bynum, who is going to be starting in this particular sim, and that's not great. But I think they would complement each other's skill sets a little bit better. I think Cam Bynum does do a better job as sort of arranging, read the play kind of safety, and Jordan Whitehead can be the guy that inserts into the box or man covers a tight end or something like that, and plays that a little bit differently. So that is my free agency class. Tyrod Taylor, Raheem Mostert, Austin Blythe, Laken Tomlinson, BJ Hill, the nose tackles, Zadaria Smith, Stefan Gilmore, Kaijuan Williams, and Jordan Whitehead. That's what I got. And I ended up, after all of that, I end up at an even $10 million in cap space, so I can sign the draft class and stuff still. And then I have like $97 million in cap in 2023 because there's a few 1-year deals in there and I have to replace those guys, and that's okay. I tried to keep that to a minimum, but some of that is to paper things over in the meantime while I try to figure out what's going on in the draft. And the big thing I'm doing in the draft here, because I only got Austin Blythe for 1 year, and otherwise I just do not have a center under contract. Like, I don't think I have any of them under contract right now. For 2023, I am going really hard for Tyler Linderbaum. And I'm really kind of all in on it, which is a bit of a risky draft strategy. But spoiler alert, we got him. But because of the way the board looked on the Pro Football Network mock simulator, it's a little different. But I'll get to all of that. And then we'll kind of wrap up and talk about like the situation I put the team in and if we prefer this to the likely situation they would be in with a normal offseason. So let's do the mock draft. I'm using the Pro Football Network simulator. This isn't mock draft Monday, so none of that no dupes kind of rule thing. Get that out of there. We're just doing a regular mock draft. Everybody's on the table. So I'm picking 12th, 15th, and 20th in the first round because of all the trades that we made. So with the 12th, I really wanted Chris Olave. And full disclosure, I did a sim where I did get Chris Olave, but I messed something up with the simulation that made it not a good simulation, that ruined it and made it not fair. So in full disclosure, I did another simulation where I got Chris Olave, but then I messed up something with the simulation and I had to start over, and then I ended up not getting Chris Olave. He then went 4th overall. So instead, I went for Jamison Williams, who's coming off a little bit of an injury, but otherwise he's a very exciting Alabama receiver. And with my very likely plan to go try and get Bryce Young, that's pretty exciting. But also, I don't know, I mean, he's just like one of the top 2 receivers in the class. We talked about him also in a previous mock draft Monday. 15th, I did get Tyler Linderbaum. I kind of feel like I could have pushed it to 20th, but because I knew the board kind of only had him and there were the Kenyon Green was long gone and there's like no other interior lineman worth a damn. I just took him. I was like, it might be a reach at 15 to take Linderbaum, but I'm just going to do it. Maybe it won't end up being a reach by the time we actually get to draft, to draft weekend. And then at 20th, I had a choice between David Ojabo and Devin Lloyd. And that was a really interesting choice because both of them are very good fits in that they can be versatile in the pass rush and in coverage and both have that kind of thing. I went with Devin Lloyd, and he's going to play, I called him the Sam linebacker. He's going to play like the bar role where you're inserting in the pass rush a lot. You need to have a very important run defense responsibilities, but you do need to be rangy in cover as well. And you're going to have a lot of curl flat zones and hook zones and stuff. Curl flat zones especially that are going to require you to maybe threaten on the line of scrimmage, then get out to the flat. A very Anthony Barr-esque assignment that happens a lot more commonly in these Fangio schemes. And I think Devin Lloyd can do that. Second round pick, I picked 46th. I only got 2 other seconds in there next year, so don't worry about them. And then that's where I took Drake Jackson, who is going to kind of be my DJ Wanham replacement. So you've got Danielle Hunter and Drake Jackson will be your like dedicated edges. And then you'll have Devin Lloyd being also on the line of scrimmage a lot, but then playing more of a Sam linebacker role. Drake Jackson can definitely drop back. It's not where he's most comfortable. He's definitely better. He's got a fantastic ghost move and stuff. He's a good pass rusher out of USC. So I'd be excited about that. And that kind of tears the front, right? You've got Danielle Hunter, Drake Jackson, BJ Hill, Dalvin Tomlinson. That's my front. Also, if it's interesting to you, the Danielle Hunter trade got me the pick that I got Linderbaum with, and the Kirk Cousins trade got me the pick that I got Devin Lloyd with. And then third round, pick number 77, that's our natural third round pick, is Brian Asamoah, who is a good, true Mike linebacker, who's like a good, true Mike linebacker out of Oklahoma. And then at pick number 86, which is the pick I got for Adam Thielen, I took Kobe Johnson, who is a good cornerback to CB2 out of Cincinnati. He was the second cornerback next to Sauce Gardner, who went way before I could get him. But he is no slouch of a corner in his own right, kind of overshadowed by the superstar across from him. But I actually really like Kobe Johnson for the Vikings. He's going to be somebody I advocate that they draft a lot. I kind of fell in love with at least my initial impression of him. So that's the roster. I'm going to cut it off there. I'm not going to go deep into day 3. I've got like 7 day 3 picks. I'm not going to waste your time talking about them. I don't even know who they are yet. But I do have 7 day 3 picks, and so we'll just kind of call it there. So deeper into draft season, I'll do day 3. I'm not going to bother with it today, but do know I have 7 day 3 picks coming up from all the other trades. You know, the one from Dalvin Cook, the one from Michael Pearson, all that stuff. I even have a 2023 7th that could happen if Garrett Bradbury makes the Rams, is I guess the way that trade would work. So yeah, that's the way that works out. So here's what I have remaining, right? Got those 7 day 3 picks, a 4th, a 5th, 4 6th round picks, and a 7. And then next year, I've got the conditional 7th from the Bradbury trade. I have a couple of 2nd round picks that I got for Eric Kendricks and Harrison Smith. I have $97 million in cap, and we still have all of our natural picks that we would like normally get assigned. So here's where the roster is at. And for YouTube, I'll put it up on the screen here. With the 2022 roster, it's a bit of a mess. Look, and we know, right? Quarterback's Tyrod Taylor. Running back is Raheem Mostert. You have Justin Jefferson, KJ Osborne, and Jamison Williams as your wide receivers, or Smith Jr. as a tight end. Your line is pretty similar. It's Darisaw, Cleveland, probably Tyler Linderbaum, but Austin Blythe is also there to compete. Laken Tomlinson, Brian O'Neill. And then on the defensive side, you have BJ Hill, Dalvin Tomlinson, Drake Jackson, Zadaria Smith is your... I was saying Danielle Hunter the whole time. I meant Zadaria Smith. Zadaria Smith, Hill, Tomlinson, and Drake Jackson are going to kind of be your front, with Drake Jackson being a little bit more of a flexible player. Devin Lloyd also getting himself involved a lot, so those are kind of your 5 up front. And then you have Brian Asamoah, and your will position is a little bit of a struggle. It's like Chaz Surratt, maybe Troy Dye. It would be like a rotational role, like an Eric Wilson come in on pass downs kind of thing. And then at safety, you have Jordan Whitehead and Cameron Bynum. That is not a roster that wins more than 7 games, I don't think, but we're okay with that. That's fine. And then when it goes to 2023, when we're really trying to be, this is where we test it, right? Did we do enough where I can trade my first round pick and my first round pick next year to get up to pick 2 overall or 1 overall or whatever and get my Bryce Young? So let's say we did that. Would I feel like... and maybe we have to, 2/3 and throw in the 2 seconds, whatever, right? So I've got $97 million in cap, and here's what I have to fix based on who kind of, when I need a new slot corner, that was only a 1-year deal. I need a new running back, that was only a 1-year deal. I might want a veteran quarterback to help the new kid come along, depending on how I feel about how long it's going to take him to develop. I might want another cornerback too. All I've got is Cameron Dantzler and a 3rd round pick in Kobe Johnson. I don't know if that's going to work out, so I might end up wanting another corner. I want a couple of linebackers. Again, I've got like Troy Dye and Brian Asamoah, and in terms of like off-ball linebackers, it's not the best. So I might want a couple of those, and I might want somebody to compete with Cameron Bynum. I think I can handle that with $97 million. I think that can be done in one offseason to go get veteran players and get people and understand that you just aren't going to have draft capital ready to go take all those other things. But in return, you get somebody like Bryce Young or CJ Stroud if you prefer, and hopefully you can have a brighter outlook there. So I turned it around, tried to turn the ship around in 2 weeks. Again, I'll put these rosters up on YouTube. If you want to just pause the video and just like peruse it, go ahead. I might tweet them out too if I remember to. But yeah, there it is. We blew it up and we turned it around, and now we've got Bryce Young throwing to Jamison Williams in 2023. I don't know. Seems pretty cool to me. But this is maybe the first. I've done this for like 2 or 3 years in a row now. And this is definitely the first year where I feel like the blow it all up plan is better than the continuity plan. And I think it's just because, continuity after you've missed the playoffs twice in a row just doesn't feel like it's worth anything. So yeah, we'll do this. If no news breaks, I'm going to do the same exercise tomorrow, but I'm just going to do, okay, these are the things I actually like. No rules, just do the things you want to do. This one I restricted myself, right? I have to get rid of everybody, or I can't get rid of anybody. What I really want to do is a nice balanced approach where I get rid of the people I don't think need to be here, and then I keep the people I do think you can use, and try to make that work that way. So barring any crazy news, that's what we're going to do tomorrow. In the meantime, check out the Locked On NFL Draft podcast so you can get more informed than I am so far. Although after free agency, I'm going to start catching up, and then watch out. But in the meantime, go check out the Locked On NFL Draft podcast. I will see you all tomorrow, and as always, Skol.